Today, we're making something simple, touchy, and powerful. Chicken salad, a recipe that reminds me how real transformation works. You take what life gives you, you do the work, and you turn it into something that can feed people. And joining me today is Paul Peters, a purpose-driven leader known for helping people discover their gifts and rebuild their lives with faith and intention. Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Analee. It's great to be here.
Yes, it sure is a blessing to have you today as we share and we dive into your own story, your own journey, as we all have a story. Would you share a little bit about your own ministry? Because
Sure.
I know you have a ministry.
Sure. It's interesting. One of my themes of what I share with people is pain out of purpose, or purpose out of pain. And so a lot of my upbringing early on in life was challenging. I was the youngest of six. And I was bullied and very low self-esteem. Ended up getting involved with some addictive things. Contemplated suicide. Actually made an attempt. And it was by God's grace that He delivered me from that. And it was a long journey back of the transformation process. And I just tell people is when you turn to God, He will always show you the way. And He did. We often have to get out of the way. My story is a prodigal son story. And so now I just share my message and I help people understand that in order to find fulfillment, joy, peace, love, it's found in discovering your purpose, and it comes in a relationship with Christ.
I definitely believe that. And I actually have the same experience. I also went through a lot of adversity as a child. I don't know if you know my story, which I'm going to actually gift you today, and I have that on the table. One of my books that has won, but it's not about me. It's about Christ.
Yes.
It's about the Lord and what He did in my life. So I'm like you. I have that heart for the passion to help the community, to help those that are in need, because we both have gone through, I cannot say the same story, but maybe there's something similar that you're going to find in my story, in your story. Back in the day as a little girl, I lost my mother when I was going to be 15. And after that, everything was very difficult for me. So I know you understand what it is to face loss. At our age, we've already seen a lot of loved ones and friends and close ones pass. So we are very familiar with that. So Paul Peters, I have to share that about him. Paul Peters is known for helping people discover purpose, embrace their gifts, and keep going when life hits hard. He's the founder of Nehemiah International Foundation, and his work centers on restoring hope, creating lasting, impactful for generations to come. Paul, your story is bigger than motivation. It's definitely transformation.
Yes, it is.
In purpose. That's how I would call it. So definitely now your job, your mission, your purpose is to help, to restore, to build in the midst of adversity, decision making, and daily discipline, I would call.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that's how I see you, a disciplined person, because not only you're trying to do what you're working on, but you're also going back and helping people around to transform maybe their path where they're at. People see the confident speaker. What part of your story did you have to survive before you could serve?
Well, I think for me, it was, as I shared before, my story is very similar to the prodigal son. I had to go that path, which ultimately led me back to Christ. Recognizing, you use the term transformation, and I tell people, and I know we're going to be doing some cooking, but anytime you have a goal or you want to accomplish something, you have to know exactly what the end product is going to be. Well, when God created us, He knew what that was going to be. He said, I know the plans I have for you. If you follow me, I will reveal that. Trust in me and lean not unto your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge me and I will direct your path. And I think transformation occurs when we recognize that the Creator created us for a purpose. He alone knows exactly what that is.
Yes.
And as we come to Him, we recognize that He's going to accomplish what He had purposed and created us to be.
Most definitely. I love what you just said. Was there a specific moment you realized, I can't keep living like this? And what did you change first?
Well, I think for me, when I was on the beach in Chicago on Lake Michigan, it was the dead of winter, and I was contemplating suicide. I actually started walking into the water because I knew what was going to happen. And it's almost as if I heard a voice, but it was just God speaking in my spirit. Don't do it. I have a plan for you. So that was the turning point for me. It was almost like when the prodigal son was wallowing in with the pigs. I recognized this is not a good thing. And I look back on it many decades later and was like, oh gosh, thank you, because I wouldn't have the children, I wouldn't have the impact. And ultimately, God creates us to have an impact and to help other people and bring in the whole concept. You mentioned disciple or discipline. It's formed out of a discipleship relationship with Christ, who can show us how to live our lives successfully and then go and do the same that he did for us.
You're actually very right. And sadly, we notice right now, community-wise, people-wise, they tend to push away from the Lord. Yeah. And we want them to come to Christ. They probably picture a God that's harsh, yes, that's not loving. But I've actually experienced the opposite. Mm-hmm. Like you said, that voice telling you, no, don't do it. I have a plan for you. And I actually have there a scripture. Mm-hmm. You're going to see that exactly Jeremiah 29:11 on that little bench, that it says that he has a plan for us. Yes. He has a purpose. And what you're going to fulfill, no one else could fulfill. Why? Because that's what he has. Everyone is created you in a unique way. You could probably have a twin, but even the twin would not be the same like you. There's something very different in each and one of us. And it's up to us to find out what that purpose, what that intention, what is it that God has for you? No one else could fulfill it. And I definitely, it resonates with me because I actually had to do also the hard work and recognize that God has a plan. And his plan is a lot better than ours. Definitely. Your message is purpose plus gifts. What do you say to someone who feels like they have nothing to offer?
Well, I would tell them that, in fact, you do. It's interesting because a lot of what we become in life is how we view ourselves, our sense of identity. And I tell people we've got to stop listening to the stories that we tell ourselves that other people told us, because that is not truth. Yes. When you focus on what you really are and whose you are, which is how God feels about you, and he communicates that very well. He says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes. Then our perspective changes. We then begin to develop an identity in Christ, recognizing as in Romans it says, as an heir of Christ. We inherit everything he has to offer. He says, my Amen. Gifts are beyond measure what I have to offer you. And I think I would tell people is you are better than you think you are. And if you start listening to the person who created you, he will begin to reinforce who you are. And then your life will manifest everything he has planned for you.
You know, I love that, because how I see it is that we've been adopted.
Yes.
And I think that before I didn't know my identity, and I'm going to be very honest, I didn't know I was lost in losing a mother. I ended up being in an arranged marriage, which is not easy to talk about those topics. But now that I know who I truly am, I know that I'm adopted by my daddy God, and you are too. Now we know who our Father is. Yeah. Now we know that he's created us with an intention, that he loves us so much that he knows how many hairs we have in our head. He knows everything, why we act one way, why not. So now it's up to us to embrace that, not to ignore it, not to hide it. There's a lot of people that tend to want to be on both sides. I'm a believer on the weekend, but then during the week I do something else. We need to embrace that 24/7, because that's what he wants us to do. Not only that he wants us to do it, but he wants us to love that identity. And sadly now, we find in our world that we live, society, everyone wants to embrace someone else. What we have, our possessions, where we live, what car we drive. And at the end of the day, when we leave, we're going to leave that behind. I really know that, and I try to stay away a little bit because some people are not ready to receive it, that he's coming.
Yes.
And I know that the days are very, we're getting there. So why not bring many more people along? Because they also deserve a better life. And this life is just, appearance and what you have and what you possess. But what he has is a lot more and deeper and meaningful. And my desire is to bring many with us, with my own story, with my own struggles. And I see that you're doing the same thing through your own story. So what's the difference between chasing success and building a life that actually feels meaningful, which we just talked about?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. It's popped in my head when the rich young ruler came to Jesus. He had the wealth, but there was something missing in his life. And he asked Jesus, what do I need to do to inherit eternal life? And Christ dealt, interesting how he did. He made some statements. He said, I've done that. I've checked the box. And then Christ hit him right at the heart. Sell everything that you own and follow me. And I tell people the unwritten statement within that is not necessarily that God was going to remove his money.
Yes.
God wanted him to be willing to let it go. Because I think too many people hold on to material wealth,
Yes.
thinking that's what their identity is. And, there's other verses talks about, your cup will overflow. When you give, I call it the generosity principle. When you give of yourself or give of your possessions, you are signifying to God or letting him know, this is not number one for me. You're number one for me. And he will bless us, I believe, because when we have that attitude, we recognize money, possessions are simply tools. We're just called to be stewards. I mean, the parable of talents, it talks all about that.
Yes.
And I think people don't really recognize because they look around the marketing, the advertisements, all about looks and possessions, and that's not going to be fulfilled. That's not going to fulfill us.
No.
So.
No, I think that there's more to it.
Yes.
And sadly, you're right. This world, this environment where we're at, is all about what you have. How do you look? Even your weight.
Yes.
And where you live. And I think that we're going to end up leaving that behind. But what about our legacy? Our legacy will still stay. And what about saving all those people that are still lost, that don't know about Christ? We need to bring them to the Lord, to the great I am. I call him in Spanish, which I'm bilingual fully, Papito Dios. That means my daddy God. Why? Because it's important. Why? Because when God, he will see us one day. He's going to say, what did you do? You want to be called faithful servant, or you just want to be called one in the list? I want to be called faithful servant, that I listen. And you're right. If you are so blessed, the more you're blessed, I think that God is going to ask more of you. And the more you're blessed, he will show where your heart is at. Is it tied to money? Is it tied to possessions? Is it tied to what? What I want is to leave a legacy that it's tied to loving my neighbor.
Yes.
And that comes to, with my book, A Legacy of Love. My mama taught me that. Is your neighbor okay? Let's see if they're okay. Maybe you don't know, back in 85, and you could probably start doing your math, there was a horrendous bad thing that happened in Mexico City. I'm trying to remember, earthquake, and a lot of people passed away. And I remember her staying. She used to work for General Motors, so she was able to travel. She spoke both languages fluently, and I ended up doing the same thing, having a degree in languages. So she went and she spent several hours and days trying to save people. And back in the day, it was a machine called Telex, and she was all about our neighbor. And still till now, that resonates to me about my neighbor, because she taught me that.
Yeah.
Hey, check on the neighbor, make sure, because God tells us that. We've never seen the Lord. We've never been there with him. We don't know how he looks, but he wants us to start loving one another, caring, making sure that we build those relationships and they're solid, because that's what my legacy, I see my legacy becoming that, of making sure, hey, I took care of her, I took care of him, because that's what money, it helps, making sure that you could help in one way or another. No one's going to take their money. When we leave, it's going to stay behind. But what's going to stay, that I know and will be there on that book of life, is the fact that you loved your neighbor. Yes. But it was from your heart. It was just really genuinely taught. In my case, I was taught that at a very young age. And I know that you also have your own legacy of loving, of caring, and wanting to care on that compassion to the next generations. As we come back, when we come back, we're going to be talking about turning point, the habits and faith decisions that move someone from being here in the place of pain to purpose. when it's messy. All right, we're back with Paul Peters, and now we're getting practical because purpose sounds great until pressure shows up. Let's talk about how you hold the line when life continues to test you. This segment is about decision making, resilience, leadership, and potential purpose in real life. So when purpose hits, what's your go-to process? Pray, plan, call someone, isolate. What do you do first?
For me, I think over time I've recognized is when I'm going through challenges, and it's interesting, I'm actually going through the book of Job right now. Got a new insight with the book of Job. And, Job went through trials that we don't even want to even conceive of going in our life. Yes. And his response was always to trust God. No matter what happened to him, the loss of his children, his home, everything, his riches.
Wow.
And when he was tormented physically, he didn't turn from God. He didn't understand, but I tell people, interesting because God is eternal outside of time. He doesn't always reveal why he allows certain things, but ultimately it becomes very clear. And I told the story earlier about the life of Joseph. Spent 12 years in prison and all those horrible things that happened, but God ultimately had a plan and a purpose. And I tell people the challenges are just God refining us to prepare us for greatness. Yes. Not for our greatness, but for his glory.
For his glory.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And sometimes people become bitter,
yes.
become upset. They start insulting. They become, angry with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And no, it's just, I call it seasons. Yeah. That's how I call it. It's just a season of what you're facing right now. But that's going to, like you said, refine you, bring out the best version, hopefully, because not everyone tends to want to go to the source, and that's our God. Yes. And when you feel that way, like we've all felt that way sometimes, why is this happening to me? When is it going to get better? And you feel confused. You feel even lost. I felt that way. Who hasn't? When you've gone through so much adversity, you go and you ask the Lord. It's okay to ask and to say, I'm feeling this way. I'm hurt. I'm confused. Help me. Yeah. Guide me. I just don't understand why I had to go through this. But at the end of the day, you're right. He's refining you. It's like with this clay, right? He's working with the clay. He's working with us, and he's changing our character because he wants us to become more like him, I think, and less like the world. And what does that mean? When you become more like him, it's not about you. Yeah. You don't take things personal. You're not arrogant. You tend to want to be more like him, humble, and know that he could have been born with the rich, but he didn't. And I think it was a way to let us know and teach us, I want you to walk this path. And why? Because even though it's a little narrow, but it's going to take you there. Yes. You're going to arrive to the Lord. And that's what I ask him every day. Lord, if you're expanding my blessings and I'm changing, don't allow my blessings to continue. Stop my blessings, but I want to be more like you. Yes. Because at the end of the day, I think that that's the way to see life, to work on ourselves, because I'm still a working process right here, and I know we all are. Yeah. So what's a lesson you learned the hard way that now shapes how you lead?
Well, it's interesting, when you were talking, and God brought me to James, it's counted all joy when you go through various trials. And it's joy because the outcome, the refining process, is character development. And yes. Everything we do, everything we think, how we treat other people has everything to do with character development. Yes. And, when we talk about, the Bible's full of, bearing fruit. And the fruits are the fruits of the Spirit, which is joy, peace, love, patience, all of those things. Yes. That's how a successful life is formed. Yes. But it has to go through the trials to be able to let go of the self, the victim mentality, the why me. And you mentioned the verses that God resists the proud but gives grace to the humble. Humble yes. are able to receive. People who are proud don't receive. And everything we have to get to receive, it comes from God. so that we
Amen.
can accomplish his purposes.
Yes,
So,
yes. So it should not be taking it personal,
Yeah.
and not that arrogance should go away, like you just said. And I love that the message, the way that the Lord, I could see God working in you, that you're willing to continue receiving the Lord and continue growing. And of course, we didn't become this way overnight.
No.
We're still working on ourselves. We're broken. And I think that the one that puts us together is the Lord.
Yes.
He brings us all together. It doesn't matter where you come from, where I come from, but we're all Jesus' creation. We know he's our daddy God. And that's what should be more of emphasized in schools, emphasize where you work, wherever you're at, to know it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about the Lord. Let's try to find, what divides us and find what brings us together. And so you teach people to identify their puzzle pieces. What's one piece most people ignore but always matters?
Wow, great question. I'm going to go back to what you mentioned earlier, and I tell people, I use this example, it's like, look at your finger. There's a fingerprint. It is
Yes.
individual. Even twins don't have the same fingerprint.
They don't.
And I'm one of those people who's like, I ask a lot of why questions. It's like, God, because you created us
Why?
individually, that means we're very unique and special. And so when I look at it from a puzzle piece, and the puzzle piece purpose is that it would blend, match
Yes.
up with the other piece to create a beautiful masterpiece. And I think about the last prayer that Christ had. He said, Father, I pray that they would be one as we are one. Be the one person God created you to be. Mix or come together with another individual, and you will complete God's masterpiece for what you're to do in your life
Amen.
in relationship to other people.
Yes.
Because ultimately, God is trying to get us to be the best lovers, and that's in service. And so we become
Yes.
part of God's masterpiece by being that puzzle piece he created us to be. And not
Yes.
somebody else's puzzle piece.
No. That's what he wants.
Yes.
And about love,
Yeah.
and what you said about the fruits of the Spirit. That's when you know that the Lord is there in you, that he's working in you. We still have a lot to go, but we're working on that every day, trying to be more him in our lives and less of this world, because as you know, I know, we're just passing life here. This is not our place to stay. And our desires should always be, what can I do for others? Like you said, serving other people. And I think it's supposed to be reciprocal, because also if you're just serving, then you're going to end up getting tired. It has, you have to charge your battery, that I call, and try to find the way to find that battery up and elevate it. And for me, it's always reading the Bible, worshiping the Lord, talking to him. Like, if he's right here, he listens to us and he wants to help us. He's more than willing to do that.
Yeah.
So let's see. If someone feels stuck in survival mode, what's the smallest action that starts momentum today?
Well, when I think about survival mode, I think about a lot of the things that I experienced getting to the point of brokenness. Because it's interesting, the Sermon on the Mount, the first one that Jesus mentioned, blessed are the brokenhearted. And I was like, what? And you mentioned the clay and the potter. And it's a
Yes.
perfect example. We try to create a life
We do.
based on what we think we want and need. And it's never going to be what it's supposed to be. And we've got to be broken so that we can be rebuilt into his image. And I think when we're in survival mode, that's when we cry out for God. God says, draw nigh unto me, I will draw near to you, resist the devil and he will flee. And I think it's in the relationship that we begin to be mended. And there's another verse that comes out of ashes comes beauty. And I think God has taken our brokenness when we allow him to, and he's going to create something even more beautiful for us.
Yeah, but sadly right now people, and I think it's always happened, they're not willing to surrender to Christ. And they think that they could resolve everything and they have control. But honestly, no one has control. God has control. Your life, when your time is up. So why would you not want to surrender and let him take control, because he knows what's best for us. And sometimes the plans that we have are not the plans that God has in store. And his plans are way better than ours.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So, yes, who did you have to become to carry the level of impact you have now?
Well, it's interesting growing up, not having a father, and it's just like I think it's so important for children to have a mother and a father. That's why God says He hates divorce in Malachi 3, and recognizing what fueled some of the addiction, what fueled the suicide attempt, was anger and hate for my father. He had passed away years earlier, but I did not have that, and I played the victim. And I think when I was at listening to an evangelist, and he talked about God being your father and forgiving anyone who's done you harm. And that released me from the victim mentality and the pain. And then God opened my eyes and had compassion on my father who'd been abused as a young child. His father was an alcoholic. So it's like, I think when God reveals to us, one, who He is, we don't look at our earthly fathers, our earthly parents. We recognize that He is the standard. And really, every child just wants to be loved. And when they're not loved, then they fall into people pleasing and other things. And I think what God turned around for me is don't become a people pleaser, become a people server. Recognize the love you're seeking from other people by doing these great and wonderful things for them, I already gave to you.
Wow.
And then you're not what I call codependent relationship with other people. And I think that was freeing for me to recognize that.
It resonates what you just said right now, and I always try to keep my life very private, which writing that book, all those books, turned out to be the opposite, but it was a calling from the Lord. And the pastor where I used to go, he pulled us up and he said, and he couldn't know. He said, you know your story. You know the pain that you've gone through. You know it comes in your family. My mom was also in an arranged marriage, by the way. And he didn't go into details, but I understood what he was telling me and I surrendered. It was hard because I was going to expose the same, what you just shared about your dad.
Yeah.
I also come from that kind of background, an absent father. And it has a lot to do, in my case, with the culture. You know how that goes about culture. Oh, well, the machismo. Oh, am I going to be doing that? That's more of a women role. You're right. It's not about a women role. It's about both. A child needs mom and dad. Yes. And when we have that gap, the only one that could fulfill it is Christ. That's the only one that could fill us and give us an identity, because He is our Father. Yeah. And we have, an earthly father, but you're right. Who knows what they went through, their past. Maybe they didn't have a mother, a father figure, and this is the best they could offer because they don't know what to offer. You see, so I think that we're supposed to forgive them in order for us to be released, because if not, we're going to be carrying that anger, that resentment, that hurt. Why did he do this to me? It is okay. Right now, I could say that it is okay. Back in the time, it wasn't okay because it was just so hurtful, not understanding why I was having to face that. And I know it resonates with you. Why me? I'm his son. Why me? I'm his only daughter. And I understand a little bit more because in his mind it was, I want to have a son as my oldest, not a girl, because I'm the oldest. And for me, it's just brothers. I don't have any more sisters. So he was always focused on having a boy. Yeah. But now I let go. It's okay. Let's release them as we're also being released from that pain, because in a way, God will take care of it. Yes. It's not up to us to resolve that. Yeah. So up next, we're heading into the recipe. And while we build this chicken salad step by step, we'll connect it to what it really takes to rebuild your life with intention. So please don't go away. Stay here with us. All right, this is where the recipe begins. Today, we're making chicken salad, and what I love about it is that it teaches the same lesson as life. The best results come from patience, good basics, and the courage to add flavor. Paul, let's start with the foundation.
Sounds great.
Well, we have to go into each and one of those ingredients. And with that said, first of all, you need to have a bowl where you're going to be placing all the ingredients and mixing them all up, like chicken, potatoes, carrots and peas, jalapenos, crackers, and of course the special ingredient, that's Thousand Island, that you need to have that. I love Thousand Island. I don't know about you.
I do.
Okay, well, that's actually what we have as ingredients today. Before we get started, what do you remember as growing up back in the day? Did you ever have chicken salad?
I did.
You
Yes.
did?
Yes.
And your mom made it?
Yes.
Or, okay,
She's
well,
an amazing cook.
I could tell. Okay, well, let's get started and see how this salad is going to come out as we put the ingredients in. And this is the chicken. And of course, you're not leaving till you actually try the chicken salad today. So I'm trying to see how much. You could actually add as much chicken that you want. Thousand Island, if you enjoy more of the Thousand Island, that's up to you. And I don't know if you like spicy. I like a little bit of the jalapeno. What about you?
Not so much. That's on my wife.
Oh, okay. Well, we're just going to do a little bit of it. Just a little bit because, believe it or not, it does give it some flavor.
Yeah.
It does. So let's go with the potatoes. Let's see. So we definitely have to mix everything in, each and one of the ingredients with the Thousand Island. Take your time as you're stirring everything in there. And it's carrots and peas. And as you said, not too much. Jalapenos. So I'm going to be very careful there. So I don't want your wife to say, look what you just did to this man. Okay, just a little bit. Hoping it's not as spicy. So the main ingredient that makes a big difference is the Thousand Island, for sure.
Looks great.
The smell. It is good. It's really, really good. So you have to stir it very thoroughly so all that Thousand Island could stay in. And the smell of all the flavor in there, it's so, so, so good. I'm trying to make sure all the jalapenos really well stirred. I don't want you to end up getting all the chunks of jalapeno.
Thank you.
Yes, I definitely care a lot. Make sure everyone's taken care of. So you could tell there that we're still needing more of the Thousand Island. There's a section here that needs more of that. So what does this remind you as you were growing up right now that I'm mixing all this, and what comes in mind? I bet something has to come in mind when you were growing up.
Well, I think by itself, each item is really good, but when you mix them together, it makes it even better. So I think about, when my mom would cook, and she had certain meals that she cooked that she would like to cook for us. And we were always excited because she did all the preparation, but the ultimate end was the finished product, because you could always taste the flavor of all the different products in it. So.
Yeah, the ingredients,
Yeah.
It makes it so special. Who cooks that in your home?
Primarily my wife. Sometimes she will allow me to cook. I'm not a bad cook. I used to run a group home, but my wife is an amazing cook. She got that from her mom and her grandmother.
So
yes.
when you were dating, because I just heard before we were doing this segment that you were sharing that you were just a newlywed. Did
Yes.
you know she was great at cooking?
A little bit. She would cook some meals, but I think after we've gotten married, I get to experience it every day. So.
Oh, wow. So it's better that way.
Yeah.
I'm extremely blessed.
Yes.
That's what goes through your mind, I would assume, right? Wow. How
She's an
exciting.
amazing cook. So.
What dishes is she?
She recently did a meatloaf, because I love meatloaf. She did a chicken Alfredo, which is great. I kind of basically told her the things that I love, that I grew up in, and she's created those. She did an amazing soup. It was like a sausage vegetable soup. So yeah, she's amazing.
Oh, wow.
I don't think there's anything she can't cook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Before we touch anything, when you're helping someone rebuild their life, what's the first ingredient they need to put on the counter?
Wow. I think very important is, for me, when I'm trying to help people find their purpose, from an ingredient perspective, is I try to pull out, look at these separately, identify their strengths, their gifts, their talents, their spiritual gifts. I pull all of that together. And then once they have that understanding of who they are, Really, I call it the Thousand Island mix. The Holy Spirit brings it together and just begins to reveal what God's special calling is on somebody's life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is very, very special that God gave you that to be able to go and recognize people's gifts. And I think that we all have gifts. Some people that I've talked to, because I'm a Christian life coach as well, and they've shared, well, I wasn't born with talents. And I believe that that's not true.
Correct.
Do you agree?
I totally agree. It's interesting, I think about in the book of Acts that it says that David fulfilled his purpose, and then he went to be with with his ancestors. And every one of us is called, has a purpose. When you know the story of David, he was a shepherd boy. He learned faith as he was working as a shepherd boy that ultimately prepared him to be a king. So.
Wow. Wow. Well, I sure cannot wait. And you're right. I sure cannot wait. And I know that David had actually the heart of the Lord.
He did.
Right?
that was a
Who would
Thousand
believe that?
Island dressing.
Yes, I agree. And so definitely I cannot wait for us to try this, because you're not going to leave till you try my...
Well, I haven't eaten today, so.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I came hungry.
Wow. Oh, well, that's great. So the first win isn't the big breakthrough. It's a decision to start, right?
Yes.
The decision to make a difference in your life and the life of people around you. So definitely we will be trying this chicken salad. And please don't go anywhere, because you will be watching right now with us on this same segment, our chicken salad, as he's going to try it. He hasn't had a meal yet, he said. So after this segment, we will be going on a break. And let me share a little bit about the process of the chicken salad. First, we have to put on a deep bowl or pot water halfway with chicken. Make sure we remove the skin, and we wash the chicken first very thoroughly. And on that pot, leave it with halfway water, but also maybe on medium heat, not so high, because if you're leaving the kitchen, it might end up being a disaster. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your eye on the stove. As well, you can start opening up a can of carrots and peas and jalapenos. You just dash them, you just chop them as much as you wish. And you might want to have some crackers handy. You might want to have, of course, some potatoes that you also do the same process. You wash your potatoes, then you add a pot with water, and you leave it there till they're very soft. And you start, when it's ready, you start peeling off the potatoes little by little. And then after that, you chop them up in small little squares, or as you wish. And in this big bowl, just like you saw, we ended up adding the secret ingredient, that's Thousand Island. Or maybe you have another ingredient that you want to mix all those ingredients in. Of course, the chicken, you have to start shredding the chicken as thin as you want, as you wish, and then you add that to your bowl. Maybe you want a bigger bowl. It all depends on how many people you will be having, of course, on over. Maybe you're going to your neighbor's house, maybe they're coming, maybe it's for church, who knows? But always, you will be able to see also my ingredients, my recipe, how many people it serves, so you could go and have an idea of how many guests you're also going to be serving, and you could go from there. But always remember, if you're not too comfortable with jalapenos, like my friend here, Paul, he is not so happy about jalapenos, then you could always just add little by little as you're mixing everything, and try it as you're going. Try and see if it's actually something that is just perfect for you, or maybe you do need a little bit more. It all depends. I love jalapenos, but lately I have not been doing much of them, because there's times that it doesn't feel good with your stomach. You feel like upset, because you're overly doing it with the spiciness. But let me tell you one thing, this chicken salad will definitely touch you in a very special way, whether it's a memory, your mother's legacy, your grandmother's legacy, maybe your wife that you definitely love when she cooks, like Paul just mentioned, and he started sharing about the Alfredo and the meals that she does and the meatballs. Well, most definitely, I believe that this chicken salad will be something that your friends will be asking about the recipe and the process behind that recipe, knowing that it's never too late to learn how to cook and bake. It's all about patience and practice. And maybe I could convince Paul, he might be willing to do a little dessert, a little cooking and baking with his beloved wife,
Yes,
right?
most
He might
definitely.
be willing to do it just for her, right? To please her. And at the same time, it's a fun activity, actually. It's not boring. If you love to eat, well, why not try and come up with a recipe, or even online, or even one of my recipes? Why not? As you continue growing and you continue learning in the kitchen, each and one of the process. But always remember, what you do need to have is a lot of patience, dedication, and becoming a good cook. Sometimes it doesn't come easily for some of us, and for some it does, but it's just baby steps, like I share in my book called A Legacy of Love, which is little by little, and I know that you could learn too. Following me here and also on my own social media, you'll be able to pick up on recipes and much more. Not only that. So with that said, I hope I could hear from you all soon. Stay here because we will be back with the next segment. Stay tuned. We are back. And with that said, I definitely cannot wait to see Paul trying my chicken salad today. So let's dive in and see what he thinks about it.
Well, I'm excited. Yummy. Delicious.
Well, you definitely made my day with that comment. I've always loved the kitchen, and I've always loved, as I shared on the previous segment, caring for my neighbor. And I believe that this is the best way, giving them a little bit of taste of what I do at home, where I could go and purchase a meal, but I tend to love to cook, to bake, to do that little extra touch. It's very different than purchasing a meal, at a place, and where you're putting the heart. Like I've always shared on my cookbook, Cooking with Love. You go and try a meal, but if it's not made with love, you can definitely tell, right? I say they're sad. There's something that's not right. Maybe they're angry that day. They were not happy that day. But of course, I love the fact that you're enjoying it, and definitely after hearing from you previously that I didn't have my meal today. I was waiting for this today. I'm excited to share the love of the kitchen with you.
Yeah.
As my brother in Christ, it sure is a blessing to have you today.
Thank you.
As you enjoy my salad.
Yeah, best chicken salad ever.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, this part takes time, as you know, and life does too. What season of your life took the longest before you were ready to serve others, Paul?
I think it was when, after the suicide attempt, there was a long journey of growth and development. And it's interesting because when I was going through that, I was playing the victim. I was playing, woe is me, why is this happening to me? And God had to get that part of me that played the victim, because in order to serve others, you've got to get out of the way. And I think about the best pictures when Jesus, before he died, he got on his knees and washed his disciples' feet. And you've got to be willing to do that. When you play the victim, you're blaming other people. And I just recognized, after I began to appreciate the long journey God took me through, the pain, that I was then called to go and help other people. So they were going through similar pain. So that was it for me. Yeah.
Wow. And what kept you from quitting in the middle of the slow process in cooking?
I think relation to cooking is, it's interesting. I know that you took a lot of time preparing for this, and that secret sauce, it had a little sweetness to it. which gave a great flavor. And I think if we allow God to simmer and stew us in regards to what he's wanting to do, the ultimate outcome of the recipe will be success, prosperity, and the taste, the flavor, which really only comes from God. And I think when we allow him to do what only he can do, you're going to have the best chicken salad ever.
Wow. For the show, we also have cooked chicken ready because nobody wants to watch me stare at a pot for an hour, right? Instead, they want to watch me doing the fun part, adding the potatoes and carrots and peas and jalapenos and chicken, and of course, adding the secret ingredient, the Thousand Island.
Yeah.
Each one of those ingredients need to be done with time, as what you shared. Finding the healing through so much adversity did not happen overnight. It took a process, just like what you have become now. And a lot of people want to rush a recipe, just like they want to rush the process of finding restoration and transformation. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yes. It's very sad, but as you said, people want to become the victim instead of being the victor. And finding the healing through Christ. It doesn't matter who caused that hardship or problem in you. What matters is who's going to come and restore you so you could be your best version.
Yes.
What would you like people to take with them as they're facing struggles? We just went recently, a couple of years ago, in a pandemic. It was horrible. There was a lot of people that didn't make it, and I hope that they knew the Lord.
Yeah.
So what would you want people to take? Because your mission and your calling is huge, but at the same time, it's extremely empowering. It's powerful. It will touch a lot of people's life. What would you want them to take?
Well, it's interesting when we look at a recipe, each ingredient by itself is okay. But when you bring them together, it's the ultimate desired goal, and the taste, of course, was amazing. And I liken it to, coal. The kids are often threatening you, you misbehave, you're going to get coal in your stocking. Well, what happens when you apply pressure to that coal? It becomes a diamond. The value is in the finished product, which is what God is doing. So in the recipe, God is putting together all those pieces, applying the pressure, the stirring, as you see that we were doing, to ultimately get each and every one of us to that diamond. So our value is high, and then we begin to shine for his glory. So it's like a light on a hill. And so that's ultimately what God's desires for us.
Definitely. And sometimes people tend to hide in those shadows and that sadness and that depression, and believing that whatever they went through, that's what their identity is, right? How could you help people come out of that? Or what would you advise them? Because sometimes they believe what other people think about them, and they tend to carry that on throughout their life. And they want to feel they're the victims, or, oh my gosh, feel pity for me because that's who I am. But I know, and you and I know, that that's not it to your story.
Yeah.
There's more to you.
Yes.
What would you say?
Well, I would tell people your past is not who you are. It doesn't define you. It just gives you an idea of what you've gone through. Learn from it. Too many people try to fix their problems by focusing on the past. And it's interesting, we were talking earlier about, Jeremiah 29:11. God says, I have a plan for you, a plan to prosper you, not to harm you. And so when we understand, we reflect on the past to learn and to grow, not to play the victim, not to reinforce what we were and maybe still are. We focus on the future. We take what we've learned, we grow. Each step, and I liken to a baby. Baby learns to walk by falling down. And so we learn from our mistakes, and we know, much like a baby's going towards mom and dad who's got their arms out. That's how the Father is. Come run to the Father, and he will help us to accomplish the finished product, which is this great chicken salad.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's what we're going to actually dive in.
Yeah.
As you all are not going to be watching this, but we're going to be enjoying the chicken salad and definitely sharing it. And as Paul said, I'm here for the salad. I'm here to share and of course to learn from his words. He has a lot of words of wisdom, of encouragement, of allowing you to know that it is okay to dream big. I think that our Daddy God wants us to dream big. By the way, I was not expecting to fulfill one of my many dreams, 12 books, even having a cooking show. And how did all this happen? And so much more, like my podcast and many other things that I'm working on. It's because I wanted and I was willing to dream big. And I believe that that's what God wants for all of us, to dream big, to not allow the enemy or the past experiences or people to just go on and label you. They could do that, but it's up to you to recognize that that does not define you. Yes. Now, it did change you, just like the salad. I went and I added some ingredients that changed the whole recipe, and at the end of the day, but for something better, for something that would be meaningful. Yes. And that's what I believe that he wants us to take with us today. The fact that we could go and change, we cannot change the past, but the past does not define the final product, your final identity, and where you're going and what God has in store for you. Because that's what we talked on the previous segments, that's not it. And he wants for you to know what your purpose is. He wants you to know that there's wonderful things out there that only have your name, no one else's name. So he's working with you. He's changing you. Just like this, the salad, the chicken salad, had to go through a certain process in order to be what it is right now. The same thing goes for you. If you're actually struggling, if you feel like you don't know what to do, where to lead, or where's your life going to go, I would invite you to reach out to Paul. He would be more than happy in guiding you, at least listening to you, so you could actually start doing the hard work, because you're worth it. Everything you've gone through is worth sharing, so someone else could also find healing and transformation. And it definitely doesn't happen overnight. It's baby steps. And with those baby steps, change comes in. And most of all, in the equation, the Lord comes in, and he will transform whatever you've gone through, like he said previously, ashes into something beautiful that you will see that it's actually possible. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this segment. I hope it was a blessing to you all. And please don't stop connecting here with Analee Viscara Vineyard and recognizing that there is many more segments and episodes to come. Thank you. And thank you, Paul.
You're welcome. Thank you.